purpose of this video is to ensure that individuals who operate ground transportation vehicles on the airport are properly trained to operate safely in accordance with airport rules and regulations. This program is intended to cover safe operating procedures for driving on the ramp area at Napa County Airport. It is not intended to cover all specific conditions encountered while working at the airport. If there are any questions about differences between this guide and local procedures, they can be resolved by contacting the airport at 707-253-4300. On behalf of the Napa County Airport staff, I'd like to welcome you to the Ground Transportation Driver Training course. Operating in an airport environment may be new to some of you, and we hope this training will provide you with a strong foundation that you can build on. Our mission at the airport, above all else, is to ensure safety. In this airport training video, we'll be discussing airfield and ramp safety and how to avoid becoming involved in incidents, accidents, and runway incursions. We'll also discuss the importance of airfield familiarization, airport rules and regulations, consequences of non-compliance with this program, and review procedures and best practices while driving on the ramp around aircraft. We hope that this training promotes safe driving operations and gives you the skills to successfully operate at the airport. There are a wide variety of ground transportation companies operating at the airport. Limousines and vans, taxi cabs, TNCs like Uber and Lyft, and rental cars. Compliance with this program is essential for safety. As a result, consequences for non-compliance may be severe. Non-compliant drivers could face fines and penalties, suspension of driving privileges, or revocation of driving privileges. It is essential that drivers are extremely familiar with the layout of the airport. Unfamiliarity often leads to confusion and mistakes. The stakes couldn't be any higher. Crossing an active runway or taxiway could cost someone their life. Good pilots will familiarize themselves with airport layouts by studying the airport diagram. Drivers should do the same. As a ground transportation driver, you're only authorized to operate in and around the FBO ramp. Know the boundaries of the FBO ramp. Link's phone number is 707-224-0887. To avoid unauthorized access of a taxiway or runway, drivers must be able to identify where not to drive. These areas are separated by boundary markings painted on the pavement. The dashed line side of this boundary marker is a taxiway. You should think of this solid line as a wall that should never be crossed. The FAA defines a runway incursion as any occurrence at an airport involving the incorrect presence of an aircraft, vehicle, or person on the protected area of a runway. Air traffic control tower personnel are required to immediately report any unauthorized person or vehicle entry onto a taxiway or runway to the FAA. This reportable event is a very serious safety infraction. It's very important that drivers call Link's FBO to check in before entering Gate 2. This diagram depicts the ramp area where you're allowed to drive. After checking in with the FBO and accessing Gate 2, proceed to the driver staging area, which is depicted in white. Anytime you drive on an aircraft ramp, be vigilant for aircraft and people. Avoid taxiing aircraft by staying close to buildings or fences whenever possible. When meeting and arriving aircraft, drivers must follow the routes of travel indicated in green. Do not drive in the center taxi lane, depicted here in red. Prior to entering Gate 2, drivers must contact the FBO and check in for both pickups and drop-offs. Flight crews must be notified prior to passenger arrival, and a failure to check in with the FBO before accessing the gate is prohibited. Use the VizPin phone app to open the gate. When entering an airport gate, you must stop and wait for the gate to close completely behind you before proceeding. Only one vehicle is allowed to pass through the gate at a time. If a vehicle or person is attempting to tailgate or the gate fails to close, you must remain at the gate and immediately notify Airport Administration at 707-253-4300. Pickups. After checking in, enter the gate and proceed to the staging area to wait for the arriving aircraft. When dropping off, you must follow the same check-in procedures, enter the gate, and then proceed to the aircraft via an approved route of travel. For safety around operating aircraft, drivers must always follow FBO line service personnel instructions. Never approach an aircraft unless it is chalked. The air stairs are open, and FBO line service personnel have indicated that it's safe for you to approach. When leaving the airport, it's important to use the loop detector painted in white to exit. Using the VizPin phone app to exit will show up in the gate log as 2 entries. When exiting an airport gate, you must stop and wait for the gate to close completely behind you before proceeding. Only one vehicle is allowed to pass through the gate at a time. Napa County Airport rules and regulations can be found on our website. All ground transportation drivers will be held to these rules. Smoking, vaping, or carrying lighted cigars, cigarettes, or pipes is not allowed on the airfield. Drivers must have a valid driver's license and evidence of insurance in their possession. Vehicles must have current and valid registration. Access will be deactivated if the renewal period has lapsed or the user is no longer affiliated with the airport. The speed limit for all vehicles operating on the airport is 10 miles per hour. Always drive at a speed that is reasonable and prudent under prevailing conditions. Never drive in a manner that endangers people or property. Never drive between an arriving aircraft and an FBO follow-me vehicle. Never proceed behind or drive in close proximity to aircraft. Never overtake or pass in front of a moving aircraft. It creates a hazard and may interfere with safe and secure aircraft operations. Remember, it's difficult for flight crew to see vehicles, so never assume the pilot can see you and your vehicle. Do not pass closer than 20 feet from any wing or tail section of a parked or staged aircraft where practical. Driving under any wing or tail is prohibited. Do not drive closer than 50 feet to a taxiing aircraft. If you're involved in an accident, you must stop at the scene and immediately call 911. You're also required to remain at the scene until the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement officers, and/or the fire department take a full report. Aircraft and emergency vehicles always have the right-of-way. Fire equipment responding to an emergency has the right-of-way over all other types of equipment. Provide adequate spacing for the aircraft to pass. Keep in mind that wings often extend beyond the pavement edges. Foreign object debris, or FOD, can ruin an aircraft engine and even destroy the aircraft. FOD is anything that doesn't belong on the paved airfield and can include rocks, tools, paper, dead animals or birds. Please do not generate any FOD. If you see FOD, please pick it up or report it to your FBO escort. Vehicles should never enter the safety diamond unless required for service. Never approach an aircraft until signaled by line service personnel. At night, display your headlights and taillights, but keep headlights on low beam. Display extra courtesy to taxiing aircraft by angling the vehicles so that headlight beams do not directly impact cockpit areas. Allow yourself extra time and drive slower than normal. When driving in inclement weather, be extra cautious. Slow down. Give yourself extra time to get to your destination. Jet blast has been known to overturn vehicles, cause expensive aircraft damage, and ground aircraft. There is danger of injury and vehicle damage if you're too close when an aircraft starts its engines. Always be aware of the rotating red beacon located on the aircraft's tail, and sometimes on its underside. The beacon is often illuminated in conjunction with an imminent engine start or running engines. Thank you for your time and attention to this training. With your help, we'll continue to operate a safe and efficient airport.